The Vorthak High Council had made what they considered their finest decision in 3 centuries. Execute the human girl. Simple, clean, efficient. After all, what could one small, fragile creature possibly do against the might of an empire that had conquered 47 star systems? Commander Thex-99 watched through the reinforced viewing port as his soldiers dragged the pale, red-haired human into the execution chamber. She couldn't be more than 16 rotations old by their calculations. Her wrists were bound with neural suppressors, her ankles chained with quantum locks. Standard procedure for dangerous prisoners, dangerous. Thex-99 almost laughed at the absurdity. The girl stood barely 5 feet tall, probably weighed less than his left arm, and had been found hiding in the ruins of what humans called New Moscow after their bombardment. The only survivor of a colony that had dared to refuse Vorthak rule. Subject designation, Anya Volkov, announced Lieutenant Crix, 44, reading from his scanner. Age, 17 human years. Identified abilities, minor telekinetic manipulation, basic precognitive flashes. Threat level, minimal. The girl raised her head, fixing her emerald eyes on the observation deck. For a moment, Thex-99 felt an odd chill run down his armored spine. Those eyes. They seemed far too old for such a young face. Too knowing. Too amused. Gentlemen, she called out, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's speakers. I believe you've made a terrible mistake. Several officers chuckled. Thex-99 activated the communication system. Human child, you are scheduled for termination in precisely 4 minutes. Do you have any final words? Anya tilted her head, a slight smile playing across her lips. Oh, I have words. But first, shouldn't you be asking who my mother is? Your parentage is irrelevant, Crix, 44 interjected. All human bloodlines are inferior to Vorthak genetics. The girl's smile widened. Actually widened. Here she was, moments from death, and she looked like she'd just heard the galaxy's funniest joke. My mother, Anya said slowly, savoring each word, is going to be so very cross with you. Thex-99 felt his patience evaporating. Initiate execution protocol. Plasma charges to full power. The massive energy cannons hummed to life, their barrels swiveling to target the bound human. Red targeting beams danced across her pale skin. Any normal prisoner would be screaming by now, begging for mercy, offering information in exchange for their pathetic life. Instead, Anya began to laugh. It started as a soft chuckle, then grew into full-throated laughter that echoed through the chamber. The kind of laughter that suggested the universe's greatest cosmic joke had just been revealed. You still don't understand, do you? She gasped between giggles. You've captured Baba Yaga's daughter. The name hit the bridge like a physical blow. Conversation stopped. Breathing stopped. For 3 heartbeats, the only sound was the humming of the plasma cannons, then chaos erupted. Impossible. Crix 44's mandibles clicked frantically. Baba Yaga is a myth. A human fairy tale. Intelligence reports were clear, another officer stammered. No verifiable data on such an entity. But Thex-99 had gone very, very still. Because unlike his subordinates, he'd actually read the classified reports from the Terran campaign. The ones marked, phenomena, unexplained. The files that described entire Vorthak battalions found frozen solid in the vacuum of space. Ships that had simply vanished. Soldiers discovered days later, aged to dust, their final scream still echoing in their helmets, and always, witnesses spoke of a figure in the darkness. An old human woman with iron teeth and eyes like burning stars. Sir? Crix 44's voice seemed to come from very far away. Should we proceed with the execution? The girl in the chamber had stopped laughing. Now she was humming. A low, haunting melody that made the ship's hull vibrate in sympathy. The neural suppressors sparked and failed. The quantum lock simply dissolved. Anya Volkov stood free in the center of the execution chamber, still humming her mother's lullaby. "You know," she said conversationally, as if discussing the weather, "Mother always told me that good children should give warnings before playing with their food." The temperature in the chamber dropped 20 degrees in as many seconds. Frost began forming on the walls. The plasma cannons whined as their energy cells struggled against the sudden cold. "Consider this your warning." Thex-99 found his voice. "Open fire. Open fire now." The weapons discharged. Brilliant streams of superheated plasma lanced through the air where Anya had been standing. She was no longer there. "Up here, boys." Every head on the bridge snapped upward. The girl stood on the ceiling, her red hair hanging down like a crimson waterfall, defying every law of physics the Vorthak understood. She waggled her fingers in a cheerful wave. "How?" Crix-44 whispered. "Oh, that's easy," Anya replied, dropping lightly to the floor like gravity was merely a suggestion. "Mother taught me that reality is just a set of guidelines. Very flexible guidelines." She began walking toward the chamber's exit. The massive blast doors, designed to contain stellar-class explosions, opened at her approach like they were made of paper. "Sound General Quarters." Thex-99 roared. "All units to combat stations. Seal all sections." Alarms screamed through the ship. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut. The vessel's most elite soldiers rushed through the corridors, weapons charged and ready. It didn't matter, Anya walked through solid walls like they were morning mist. When a squad of warriors cornered her in Section 7, she simply smiled and pointed. Half of them turned to ice sculptures. The other half aged 50 years in 10 seconds, their weapons crumbling to rust in their suddenly arthritic hands. "This is impossible," Thex-99 muttered, watching the security feeds as his best troops fled in terror from a teenage human girl. "This violates fundamental laws of physics." "Commander," his tactical officer reported, voice shaking, "she's heading for the bridge." Of course she was. Because why wouldn't the most dangerous human in the galaxy want to have a chat with the beings who tried to murder her? The bridge doors, crafted from the strongest metals in Vorthak space, began to glow. Then melt. Then simply cease to exist. Anya Volkov stepped onto the command bridge of the most advanced warship in the Vorthak fleet, looking around with the casual interest of a tourist visiting a museum. "Nice ship," she commented. "Shame you won't be needing it much longer." 20 elite guards raised their weapons. 20 bolts of concentrated energy shot toward the human girl. She caught them in her bare hands, like they were fireflies. "Energy weapons?" She sked disapprovingly. "Mother taught me to eat lightning before I could walk." The captured energy swirled around her fingers like dancing flames, then dispersed harmlessly into the air. "Now then," Anya said, settling herself comfortably in Thex-99's command chair, "let's discuss your poor life choices, shall we?" Every weapon on the bridge trained on her. Every officer's finger hovered over their trigger. But nobody fired. They just watched her catch plasma bolts with her bare hands. What exactly were they supposed to shoot her with now? "You destroyed my home," she continued conversationally. "Killed my friends. Burned the only family I had left." Her voice remained perfectly pleasant, but the temperature kept dropping. "Do you know what Mother says about people who hurt her little girl?" Thex-99 found enough courage to speak. We were following standard colonization protocols. Your people refused to submit to Vorthak authority." "Oh, I understand completely," Anya nodded sympathetically. "You were just following orders. Doing your jobs. Nothing personal." She leaned forward, and for just a moment, Thex-99 could swear he saw something vast and terrible moving behind her eyes. "Mother's going to take that very personally indeed." The ship's lights flickered. Then died. Emergency power kicked in, casting everything in hellish red light. She should be here any minute now, Anya said brightly. I do hope you'll make a good impression. The first sign something was seriously wrong came when their sensors stopped working, not damaged. Not malfunctioning. Simply, stopped. Every screen on the bridge displayed the same message in flickering text: "Why did you hurt my little girl?" Lieutenant Crix 44's voice cracked like adolescent molt. "Commander, our entire sensor array has been compromised. Something is rewriting our systems from the outside." "That's impossible," Thex-99 snarled, though he was beginning to suspect that word had lost all meaning. "Our firewalls are quantum encrypted. Nothing can penetrate them." Anya giggled from the command chair, swinging her legs like a child on a playground swing. "Oh, Mother doesn't bother with your silly technology. She just asks the machines nicely. They tend to cooperate." The view screen flickered to life, showing the vast emptiness of space around their ship. Empty, that is, except for the massive shadow moving between the stars. "Impossible," breathed the tactical officer. "There's nothing out there. Our scanners show vacuum." "Your scanners," Anya said sweetly, "show what Mother wants them to show." The shadow moved closer. As it approached, details became visible that made every Vorthak on the bridge question their sanity. It looked like a house. A massive, impossible house floating through the void, balanced on what appeared to be enormous chicken legs that somehow propelled it through space. The legs were easily a kilometer long each, covered in scales that gleamed like black metal. They moved with deliberate, predatory grace, carrying the house through space as if it were the most natural thing in the universe. "By the 7 moons, whispered Crix 44. "What is that thing?" "That," Anya announced proudly, "is home. Mother never did like staying in one place for too long." The house settled into position directly above their warship. This close, they could see details that their brains refused to process. Windows that showed rooms far larger than the exterior could possibly contain. A garden growing on the roof where flowers bloomed in the vacuum of space. Smoke rising from a chimney that somehow burned without oxygen, and perched on the front porch, in a rocking chair that creaked audibly through the ship's hull, sat a figure that made grown warriors whimper. She looked like a human grandmother. Small, wizened, wearing a simple black dress and knitted shawl. Her hair was iron gray, pulled back in a neat bun. She held knitting needles that caught starlight and reflected it back in impossible colors, but her smile revealed teeth of polished metal, each one sharp enough to cut reality itself. "Hello, boys," came a voice that seemed to speak directly inside their heads. Warm, grandmotherly, utterly terrifying. "I understand you've been playing with my daughter." Every weapon system on the ship powered down without anyone touching the controls. Life support continued running, but everything else simply stopped. "Mother." Anya waved cheerfully. "They tried to execute me. It was adorable." The old woman's knitting needles clicked together in a rhythm that sounded like breaking bones. "Did they now? How presumptuous." Thex-99 found his voice, though it came out as more of a squeak. We had no knowledge of your relationship to the prisoner. Our intelligence indicated she was an orphan." Intelligence. The word dripped with such contempt that several console screens cracked. "You invaded a human world, burned their cities, murdered their children, and called it intelligence." The rocking chair creaked faster. With each creak, the ship's hull groaned in sympathy. "We were expanding the Empire," Crix 44 stammered. "Standard colonization protocols. We offered them the chance to surrender." Offered. Another word that seemed to physically wound the air around it. "You offered slavery to a free people and called it generosity." Anya hopped down from the command chair and walked to the view screen. "Tell them about the other ships, Mother." The old woman's smile widened, showing more of those terrible metal teeth. "Oh yes, the other ships. Your fleet, Commander Thex-99. All 47 vessels of Battle Group Omega. Thex-99's blood turned to ice water. Battle Group Omega was their most powerful force, positioned throughout the system to prevent any human vessels from escaping. What about them? He managed. They no longer exist, the old woman said pleasantly, her knitting needles never stopping their ominous rhythm. Oh, the crews are fine. Mostly. I transported them all to a lovely little moon in the Andromeda galaxy. Very peaceful. No intelligent life for several million light-years in any direction. That's impossible. You can't transport 47 ships across intergalactic space. The old woman paused in her knitting to look directly at him through the screen. For a moment, Thex-99 felt like an ant being examined by a scientist with a very large magnifying glass. Young man, she said in the tone of a teacher correcting a particularly slow student, I am Baba Yaga. I flew through space in a mortar and pestle before your species learned to make fire. I have eaten stars for breakfast and used quasars as nightlights. The only impossible thing here is your continued existence after threatening my daughter. The ship shuddered. Not from any external force, but as if reality itself was reconsidering whether it should continue supporting their presence in the universe. Please, Thex-99 found himself begging, though he wasn't entirely sure when he'd fallen to his knees. We didn't know. We'll withdraw from human space immediately. Full reparations. Whatever you want. Baba Yaga considered this, tilting her head like a bird examining a particularly interesting worm. Whatever I want? Yes. Anything. I want, she said slowly, savoring each word, you to understand what you've done. You see, humans have this fascinating concept called justice. Very different from Vorthak law, which seems to consist entirely of might makes right. The knitting needles clicked faster. The sound was starting to resemble a countdown. Human justice, she continued, requires that the punishment fit the crime. You invaded their worlds, so your worlds will know invasion. You burned their homes, so your homes will burn. You scattered their families across the stars, she paused, letting the implication hang in the air like a sword. No, Crix 44 whispered. You can't. The Vorthak Empire spans thousands of worlds. Billions of citizens. Can't? Baba Yaga's eyebrows rose in polite surprise. My dear boy, I already have. Did you think this conversation was happening in real time? The view screen split, showing dozens of different star systems. Vorthak colonies, military bases, core worlds. All empty. Not destroyed, not burned. Simply, vacant. Where are they? Thex-99's voice came out as a broken whisper. Safe, Baba Yaga said kindly. Relocated to uninhabited worlds where they can learn to grow their own food, build their own shelters, survive by their own efforts rather than the suffering of others. It will be character building. But our technology. Our cities. Our civilization. Will be shared with the species you've conquered. The Altarians always were gifted engineers. I'm sure they'll put your shipyards to good use. The Centaurans have such artistic sensibilities too. Your museums will be spectacular under their care. Anya clapped her hands in delight. Oh, Mother, you gave the Vorthak homeworld to the Kree, didn't you? The ones they used as slave labor? Indeed I did, darling. Poetic justice is so much more satisfying than simple revenge. The ship groaned again, and this time several bulkheads began to buckle. Not from pressure, but from the weight of cosmic irony settling over them. This is insane, Thex-99 gasped. You've dismantled an entire interstellar empire in the space of a single conversation. Actually, Baba Yaga corrected, consulting what appeared to be a pocket watch, it took me about 17 minutes. I would have been faster, but I wanted to make sure everyone was relocated safely. Unlike some species, I don't enjoy unnecessary suffering. The old woman stood from her rocking chair, suddenly seeming far taller than her diminutive frame should allow. Her shadow fell across the ship despite the impossible angles involved. Now then, gentlemen, we come to the matter of your personal fates. You attempted to murder my daughter. In human culture, this requires a more direct response. Every Vorthak on the bridge simultaneously discovered what pure terror felt like. However, she continued, and hope flickered in their hearts, Anya has asked me to show mercy. She says you were simply following orders, acting according to your nature. She's always been too kind for her own good. Anya blushed prettily. Mother, you're embarrassing me. So here is what will happen, Baba Yaga announced. You will be returned to your people. You will help them adapt to their new circumstances. You will learn what it means to build rather than destroy, to create rather than conquer. The relief was so intense that several officers actually fainted. And, she added with that terrible metal smile, you will remember. Every day for the rest of your lives, you will remember that you tried to kill an innocent girl, and that her mother moved the very stars to see justice done. The house turned, chicken legs stepping delicately through space, and began to move away. As it departed, one final message appeared on their screens, tell the galaxy what you have seen here. Tell them that humanity is under the protection of Baba Yaga. And tell them that some mothers will burn down the universe for their children. The ship's systems came back online with cheerful chimes. Their scanners showed empty space. No house, no impossible figure, no sign that anything unusual had happened except for the complete absence of every other Vorthak vessel in the system. Commander Thex-99 looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. They stared back with the hollow eyes of beings who had witnessed something that would haunt their dreams forever. Sir, Crix-44 said quietly, what do we tell High Command? Thex-99 thought about that for a long moment. How do you report that a fairy tale grandmother had just casually rearranged galactic civilization because you tried to execute her daughter? The truth, he said finally. We tell them that humanity has a very protective mother. And that the Vorthak Empire just learned why you should never threaten someone else's children. In the distance, barely visible against the stars, a house on chicken legs danced through space, carrying a girl who laughed like starlight and a grandmother whose love could reshape reality itself. The galaxy would never be quite the same.